Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Katerina Stathopoulou. I am the Executive Director of Investments and Finance in Athens, Greece. Investments and Finance is a shipping finance investment banking boutique. My background in finance begins in the mid-80s, where I joined a large shipping company as assistant CFO, progressed into the banking industry, where for 10 years, I developed a shipping finance portfolio of 2 new banks at the time. And for the past 21 years, I've been a shipping finance advisor with Investments and Finance. I'm also a shipping finance lecturer at the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers and a governor of the Propeller Club Port of Piraeus in Athens, Greece, as well as a member of Vista Elas. I would like to say quite a few things about shipping finance and a career in it, but I would like to first take some questions from the students joining us today, and I will take the discussion down the road of the questions and then add in information as I see what the students are looking for to hear. So can I please have your first question?
Okay, ma'am. I am also a student actually. I am a student of marine engineering in India, from India. So, hello, ma'am. So I'll be asked, I have curated the questions from a few of my batchmates and a few other students as well from the marine industry studying bachelors of business administration or bachelors of nautical science. And the first question is, can you, as your profile, you were a shipping finance lecturer in ICS. So what exactly is chartered shipbroking, and how can we enter first of all, can we enter as a fresher into chartered shipbroking after our degrees? Is any degree?
Okay. In order to become a member or a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, you need to take the program of ICS, which is a professional qualification program. It has four studies, disciplines that are mandatory. And then you need to do 3 electives out of a large range of disciplines. They are all taught by professionals in the market. So it is good if you have, of course, your university degree, and you will also get more information in depth and actually what happens in the market, because, you know, sometimes theory from actual practice has space in between. So then you sit for the exams of ICS, and once you pass the exams, then you become a member and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers. And that it's not necessarily that you need to be a shipbroker. Okay, I'm a fellow at the Institute and I'm in finance. It is a networking, actually, association with professional qualification, and the certificate you get is very much recognized in the market. Okay, what I'd like to say is, because you said you've done engineering and you have other colleagues, shipping and shipping finance and shipping in general, and every discipline in shipping is something that you can enter from whatever point of studies you have done. Okay, shipping is an industry, and we need a lot of skills, different skills, and different studies that the young people and the professionals entering the market can bring to the industry. And shipping is changing technologically now. And of course, the whole world is changing, and shipping is also doing that as well. So shipping is the industry that you can enter from any point of any studies you have done. And then you need to develop yourself in the industry and specialize, if you wish, in a sector that suits you best.
Thank you, ma'am. I got a gist of the idea as to what a career path might be in the industry. If I choose shipbroker as my passion, if I follow it afterward, and yeah, I understood that yes, from the start itself, I can move forward and go into ICS and become a chartered shipbroker as well. My second question to you is, ma'am, what has been your journey so far? How have you evolved in the industry? Did you start from the maritime industry itself, or were you in some other sector and then you moved to the industry?
Okay, thank you. Actually, how did I start in the industry? I call it destiny, if you allow me, because I started in the industry very young. I was still in the university and working myself through the university. So at the age of, I think it was 2021, I answered a job ad who was looking for an assistant finance director of a large shipping company. It was Athenian at the time, Mr. Minos Kyriakou, one of the large Greek ship owners. So here I was working as a secretary between the age of 18 and 20 and studying at night at the university. My degree is management with a major in finance and a minor in computers. Now, you really need to understand that when I went to the university, and it was quite a few years ago, you were not even an idea in your parents' head, not even an idea. Computers was just starting to come forward. And when we were discussing computers, imagine that what I studied was computer programming, and then Excel, Microsoft Word, and all the other programs that have came out while I was still working, and I came forward and had to learn them in order to integrate myself into the business community that was now using them. So when I started off, we just had a typewriter. There was no word processing, all right, for example. And the spreadsheets that we do everything on now used to be by hand. And the formulas that are in the spreadsheets that we use so easily now, I was taught in the university of how to use a calculator, my brain, to do all those financial calculations, okay, with the formulas that are in the books as theory. Now things have become more streamlined. So I was studying business administration, and I was majoring as a general degree with a major in finance and a minor in computers, the computers of the time, all right? And here I am, and working in the morning, going to the university at night. The American University here on the Air Force Base of Greece is where I went, in the University of Maryland. So I was working in the morning, full-time job, and I answer an ad because I didn't want to stay as a secretary. I had ambitions, and I was looking into making a career actually in banking, to be honest, all right? So my dream at the time was to be a banker. And here I am, I'm answering an ad that says assistant to the finance director of a large shipping company. And I go to the interview. And when I walked through the door of the shipping company, I felt like I was walking through the door of my house. Now, I need to tell you that I'm a daughter of a captain, master mariner. So from my experience from my dad, I knew what a ship was, all right? And I had the luck and the honor to have traveled with my father when I was a young girl, a baby, between the age of 2 and 5. For 3 years, I was on a vessel continuously. And then I would join him over time during summer holidays at some of the ports and make a trip or two. So I knew what a vessel was, all right? But it was totally unheard of in the mid-80s that I was 20 years old, 21, all right? Mid-80s, mind you, for a lady to think of going into the industry, to even think of it. My mother went berserk. When I said I'm getting a job in a shipping company, she just didn't like it at all. It was totally unladylike to be in that profession, even as a secretary in her mind. So I was, of course, hired, and it felt like I found what I really liked. I got passionate about it. The finance director was an ex-banker from Citibank. We were in the major shipping crisis of the 80s. and all the shipping companies were hiring ex-bankers to help them out, to restructure their loans and to assist them through the difficulties of the time. So I did a very steep learning curve, actual professional industry learning curve on the job, while I was also getting my degree. So I finished my degree. So my degree in finance, and of course, in the computer education of the time, was really assisting me in also, digesting, right, and working with the actual industry in finance. So you're going to tell me, what did I do there? I'll explain what you will do in a company and then how you can bring it forward to the banking or other industry. But jumping from there, because you asked me about my career, after 6 years, I said, okay, I've seen enough. In fact, in the interview, this is a funny story, the CFO asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I wasn't even 21 yet. I was just short of 21. And I said, I'm going to be sitting in your chair. I'm going to be the CFO of this company. And he says, very good. Okay, you're hired. I said, oh, thank you. You're not afraid of me sitting in your chair. You know what he told me? No, because in 5 years, you should be married, having children, and being at home. So I wasn't really taken seriously that I was there, and I was really thinking of sitting in this chair. So I said, yeah, that's fine. Am I hired? Yes, good. Okay, well, I'm telling you that in 5 years, I have a strategy here. I'm going to be in your chair, maybe married, and maybe with children, but I will be in a higher position in finance and in shipping. So anyway, he's still my best friend all these years, okay? And my best mentor, by the way, all right? He really supported me. But after 5, 6 years there, 6 years actually, I went and told him, I don't want your chair anymore. I don't like it. I want to go into banking. Because as I said, my dream when I went to the university was to become a banker. And now I knew in what direction of a banker I wanted to be, shipping finance. And this is exactly what I did. It was the right timing. Private banks were coming into play in Greece. So I was hired to develop the first shipping portfolio of one of the initial banks in Greece, of the Greek private banks. And 2 years later, I left that bank and went to another bank and took over the small portfolio and increased it and developed it. And after 6 years there, and the bank kept being sold and changing profile, I jumped boat again and came into advising. And I've been with investments in finance since 2000, so that's 21 years. But what has my career given me? It has given me a well-rounded knowledge of the industry and of finance from the viewpoint of the ship owner, of the banker, and that gives me the skills and the knowledge to be able to be an advisor to my clients who are the ship owners, and to be able to resolve and negotiate their financing needs, to analyze their projects and to source the money for the projects, and to negotiate with the parties, being the funds, the banks, the equity markets, the capital markets, whatever they need as an outsourced now CFO, assisting their CFO. So I guess my career, as I said, was destiny. I mean, answering a job ad that brought me into a shipping company, found my calling. I also did the banking dream, and then I decided, I wanted something else. It was just too rigid, okay? CFO of a company is also rigid, well, less rigid than the banker. The banker was, again, very rigid, but being an advisor has now opened my horizons, and I'm actually doing what I like, because I need to develop and use my brain for different things and think out of the box. I'm not the type of person that I like to go from A to B every day, okay? So I could not be an accountant. There is a differentiation. There is a differentiation. Some people say it's a fine line between being the accountant and being the the CFO, okay? The CFO needs to understand and have good knowledge of accounting. But that doesn't mean that he can keep the books. I cannot do that, all right? I understand what he does. I can read the balance sheet and all the financial statements. And I know how they've been developed, all right? So you do need to know where you build on. But then as a CFO, my job is different. I need to take those results and see where that is taking me as a company, right? So as a CFO, you have other duties and requirements. You need to be able to do budgeting. You need to be able to make projections. You need to be on top of what is actually happening and what is anticipated, because you need to make sure that the cash flow of the company and the payments, the debt service and all the other operating expenses, there's money there to make them. The accounting department keeps a record of all of that, but that's after the fact, okay? If they make a payment, they put it on the books. If we get an incoming hire payment, we put it on the books. As a CFO, you need to anticipate and budget forward what your expenses are going to be and what your income is going to be, and make sure you have a positive outcome. And if you see problems coming, you need to be able to address them in time so that you don't go off the hill.
It's indeed, ma'am, listening to you, it's been a roller coaster ride in your life, from starting from beginning till today. Like, it's been really a great pleasure knowing about your life, honestly. And I understood one fine line of thing between a CFO and accountant, that a CFO has to make the decisions, the tough decisions. The CFO is also made the decision making is in the hands of the CFO. The accountant is not liable for that. It is a job portfolio for the accountant that yes, this is my job. But for a CFO, he has to do, every decision has to be taken, every minute thing has to be up to the mark for the company. Only then can the company proceed. At the end of the day, you have to be a leader, become the CFO of a company. You have to lead from the front.
Yes. Well, you know that shipping is a capital intensive industry, okay? And it's not just capital intensive in terms of money, it is also human capital intensive industry. And we need to really understand that. All these years while I was, in the industry, it was like the textbook definition is shipping is a capital intensive industry. And okay, that's been right. But all these years, people were also overlooking the human element into it, all right? Because technology is nice, but there's a brain of a person running that technology. It's not doing it on its own, all right? And that's what we need to understand. And we must not lose our brain power, okay? We must not be 100% dependent on technology. I like to say that, I have a nice story on that. I like to say that you really need to know things the good old-fashioned way. And I pray to God, you may never need to use that, but please learn it. Because for one moment, one instant, 1 minute, technology goes dark, you need to be able to function. So the good old-fashioned way has to still be taught, and we need to know it. We should not be relying 100% on the technology. We need to use our brain, to our common sense, to really understand and take the most out of technology, but not blindly follow it. A funny story is, the basic thing that you need to learn, and incredibly enough, it's not being taught, all right, is how do you calculate interest? Because now you push a button and somebody has put that formula behind your Excel sheet. Well, hello, you need to know what that little thing is telling you, because you need to be able to understand if the outcome it's given you is right or not, okay? So it's really funny. I was negotiating a few years ago, my house loan. Okay, I needed to get a loan for to buy a house. And I was doing a market research from the banking industry. And I was showing up and asking, you know, the terms of the loan. Little did they know who they were talking to, okay, because this is funny. So they were telling me some terms, and I was asking the correct questions. And at the end of the day, I went to 5 banks. Only 2 officers really knew what they were telling me, really knew what they were selling. They were not just saying the story that they were taught to sell. Because if you challenge them with a question and they can't really answer it, or they understand that they can't answer it and they give you a foolish answer, that's not right, all right? So the funny thing was that I said, okay, what is the interest rate? Okay, and she says, I'll calculate how much your installment will be, because, you know, at housing loans, it's the installment includes the interest and the repayment. So I have a financial calculator. Always. I have this calculator since the mid-80s, and I cannot use another calculator, even to make additions or subtractions. So I take my calculator out, which is, what is that? I said, don't worry. You do your thing, I'll do mine. And, you know, I asked the questions and I started punching in the numbers, and it came out with my installment number. So I was waiting for her. I did it in 2 seconds on my calculator. So I was waiting, and she was punching in numbers and blah, 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 blah. And she comes out with an answer, and she says, I don't know, 10 euro. And I said, that's wrong. It's 8. And she says, no, this says 10. I said, yeah, this, my calculator, says 8. She says, no, this is 10. I said, you are wrong. What have you put in? Double check what you have done, because it cannot be 10 because of X, Y, Z. And critically thinking of what you're telling me, okay? And she goes, oh, what do you do for a profession? I said, don't worry about that. Please look into your computer again. So she goes, oh, you're very right. I punched in some wrong numbers. Yeah, hello. Yeah. Garbage in, garbage out. So you do need to understand and be able to double check the computer, okay? Which is basic. How do you calculate an interest calculation? And the real estate one is a more complicated one than the way shipping is being calculated. But still, you need to understand. You need to understand how interest is being calculated on your deposits. That's your money, and you're earning something on it. Shouldn't you know how that is coming out? And why is it? And understand if some banks are not giving you the right days or not, because that's the key. Simple things, very simple things. Finance at the end of the day and financial decisions are in our life, in our personal life as well. It's for our own financial well-standing. Yes.
Absolutely, ma'am. I personally agree with it, because I have seen my own life. Coming from engineering background, let me give an example from here itself. Here itself, if you don't know what the machine does, then how will you see what, just taking the readings at the end of the day won't help us. At the end of the day, you have to know what it does. You have to know the working of the thing. You have to know how it's happening, the formula. Just putting in the numbers at the end of the day is not helpful. So I can really relate to this at a very close level, that yes.
I have a question for you. What do you think, as a young generation, is the most important skill, one skill that you need for shipping? The most important for shipping, not for shipping.
For shipping for my, as a seafarer, because I'm going to be a seafarer, or
take it from any point. What is the most important skill?
I believe your network is your net worth at the end of the day. So networking is one skill which is very important.
Correct. Correct. Networking is very important, not only for shipping, for any industry, for any professional, okay? Well, believe it or not, there is a skill that is very important for your life and for your professional life in whatever you do. And it is not taught in any university, in any school whatsoever. Do you know what that is? It's called common sense. Common sense. If you do not have common sense, I don't care how many degrees you have, you can't apply it. So what I'm trying to say is that all people are born with common sense, okay? It's in our DNA worldwide, okay? So we need to be able to, first of all, develop a skill that we are born with. And how do you develop your common sense? Your common sense is developed by critical thinking. And how do you, and critical thinking is taught, okay, through the educational system. Because you can either be taught to follow something and memorize it and just say it out loud as it is, or read something, critically analyze it, and tell me what you think. Not everything is black and white, okay? Not everything is black and white. In fact, the majority of things in our life today is not exactly black and white, right? There are many points of view on the same thing. It's like, you know, when I was being raised, they were saying they would, I had done a test at some point, you know, the one with the water glass, and you show the water glass and you say, what do you see? And some people said, oh, it's an empty water glass. And other people said it's a half full water glass. And in fact, I'm also a lecturer and tutor at the University of Piraeus in the master's program, and a mentor for the master's graduate. And I was having dinner with a group of them one night a few weeks ago. And I did that test to 25, 27-year-olds, women and men. And I just showed them a glass that had water in it. And I asked four different, 2 women and 2 boys and two gentlemen, to tell me what did they see in front of them. Do you know I got 4 different answers describing the water glass? They were all right. So nothing, and they were amazed when I was telling them, you know, you really need to look at things critically with an open mind, because nothing is black and white. Very few things are actually black and white, all right? Ethics is a black and white thing, okay? We need to be ethical, all right? There is no gray zone. I killed you, but, for example, all right? So that is a black and white thing. But, you know, some decisions really need to be looked at critically. And yes, knowledge, and yes, educational knowledge and experience, common sense. Use your brain. I can't stress it enough. Okay, so I just wanted to really put that out there.
This is becoming a coffee chat rather than a formal discussion right now.
Yes, we can have anytime you want, online coffee chats.
It's fun talking together, ma'am. I really have fun talking to you right now. So this is very true, ma'am. With the advent of technology, my generation, to be more precise, we have forgot to see things with a different perspective altogether. Because we know at the end of the day, we have our laptops, we have our phones. One search, we have the answer with us. But thinking with a different perspective has really been out of the zone from our sides. That is something we need to develop. I really second you on that. So I need to go.
You know what the biggest threat of your generation is? Technology. Because technology, it's a blessing and a threat at the same time. Because technology is giving you one point of view. And I know there are people out there that may be saying she's crazy. There are millions of points of view if you go into the web. Yeah, again, slanted, all right? Close the technology and go out in the world. Do not look at the world through your camera. Go out there. So when I'm saying, so common sense is being developed in the young generation through technology. Common sense is being developed in the young generation through technology. So that is being developed slanted. It's not the world out there. Now, I can have any debate with anybody telling me that I'm seeing a bigger world through my camera. Yeah, but you're seeing something that somebody else is showing you. Go out there and find it for your own. Travel, actually, when they allow us, okay? COVID won't be here forever. I mean, come on. We will get over this, all right? And we will meet other challenges down the line. And I'm hoping to be here many, 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 many more years, all right? I'm already over the hill, but okay. Go out there and see the world and then decide for yourself. You're free to do that if what you're seeing on camera was actually what was out there. But you may find some things that you're seeing with a different point of view than what they're showing you on the camera. And let's go back to finance. That's very important. You need to know your industry. I can't be an effective CFO for any company. A CFO does not necessarily need to be in a shipping company. I can be a CFO of a very large services company, okay? So the financial skills are transferable. The critical analysis skill of my brain is a transferable skill. The skill of thinking out of the box is a transferable skill. The knowledge, because that's not a skill, you need to be taught and use your brain on how to do risk assessment is a transferable skill. I was taught risk assessment in the mid-'80s from the CFO and the banker, and I'm really grateful for that gentleman there. Nikos has been my mentor and guardian angel since then and up to today, you know, encouraging me to jump and go forward. And in the meanwhile, I was married, I had children, but I was still growing my career and as a person. So risk management and risk analysis, once you learn it for your profession, you use it for your life, for anything. But you need to be able to learn how to do a risk analysis and then a risk assessment and then make plan A, B, and C. For me, it's become, you know, I can't help it. My brain works like that after so many years. So, you know, I'll analyze the situation and automatically I have plan A, plan B, and sometimes plan C. So I keep looking at, if this, you know, where is the risk? Okay, I'll do this. What can go wrong from this? This, all right? What can I do? If this goes wrong, what will I do? That's plan B, all right? Alternative scenario. And then if that goes wrong, plan C. Now, that takes experience, all right? But it's something that finance, right? In finance, you need to do. So risk assessment, analytical thinking out of the box, because it's a new era. We're financing the vessel. We're financing the company. We are looking out for the financial stability of the company. We need to be able to project and make sure we see forward before it happens as much as possible, all right? The downside. I'm not looking for the upsides as a CFO. I'm looking for the downsides. Those are the downside is what my job says I need to protect. Because if the upside comes, we're all going to be very happy. We're going to be making a lot of money. Yeah, but even there, I can't be spending everything. I need to make a plan for the downside, which is coming. I am responsible as a CFO, right, for the return on the money that the investor has put in return on the money. You understand what I'm saying? You're a mechanical engineer. You're an engineer. You understand, all right? You need to know how will you get return on your money, first of all. So these are, you know, learning finance, all right, is what I say at the Institute. It's not because you want to work as a CFO in the industry. It's because you need to understand basic knowledge that will follow you as a person in your personal life and in your professional life, as an engineer, as a lawyer, as an insurance person, as somebody working in the supply industry, everywhere. Not only the shipping company, and not only being a banker. By the way, being a banker this time of the year, 2021, is boring. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but for me, it's boring. It used to be more exciting when I went into banking, because I had the freedom to analyze the project and commercially assess if I should or should not give the money. Now I have a checklist that has been imposed by the overregulation of the banking industry. And it has been imposed, correctly imposed, but overregulated, because people misused the freedom of commercially doing the risk analysis and should they be giving the money as a bank. In the high of the market, 203 to 208, the high of the industry, and I'm sure you were around and you've heard of it, the banking industry threw the rule book out the window. The rule book, the credit risk assessment rule book, they threw it out the window and sacrificed the basic ethics, shall I call them? As I said, you can't kill somebody and say, yeah, well, I'm sorry, I had to do it, all right? There's no gray zone there. That's black and white, all right? So there are black and white things you should not be doing in shipping finance, all right? And they threw that out the window. Why? Because they were greed. They were chasing after clients, chasing after the high of the market, chasing after profits. Bankers had budgets on their heads. They had to produce results, and they stopped caring if what they were giving was going to be sustainable. And now the buzzwords, all right, 15 years later, is sustainability. Well, hello, people were looking at it for sustainability without using the words. When I started in shipping in the 80s, it was common sense. We had to follow some rules and use our good judgment and commercial viewpoint on how to structure the loan, if I was to give it, so that it would be returned to the bank. And of course, the ship owner would be making the returns on his own money, all right? So when we threw that out the window and we went through the greedy period of shipping, now we're back, screaming at the top of our heads, sustainability. When we used to do that, the good old-fashioned way. Now somebody's telling us that we need to do it. And good for them, I'm all for it. Yes, and we've changed. We have regulations for the environment. We have regulations for sustainability, which to me, sustainability is common sense. Really. But, I did the crisis of the 80s. We worked through it. We came into the highs of the 203, 208, and then we have the financial crisis from 2008, and we're still living through it.
As seafarers, how do we manage our investments, or how do we invest, or how do we get onto the salary we earn? How do we learn to keep it? This is from the seafarer point of view. If you'll be able to answer it now.
Using common sense. Okay. I just had to say that. The seafarers, I have a lot of respect for seafarers, all right? They are the backbone of shipping. It's not the asset. Shipping is not the asset. Without the seafarers, shipping wouldn't exist, okay? And I'm the daughter of a ship's captain. So you may say I am biased, but It's the truth. And people, I was yelling that at the top of my lungs for many years. And do you know when people actually realized it? And this is the sad thing. Because of COVID, they suddenly realized, all right, that they're human beings, human souls on a vessel that had to go back to their family. That their families were having difficulties and they couldn't be with them, okay? And then suddenly we all realized, thank God, that, there's a human element there. That's why I said it's also human capital intensive, all right? It's two things. Now, how would a seafarer manage his financials? How would anybody manage their financials, all right? Prudently, all right? By budgeting. You need to plan, you need to save, you need to make a strategy. It's the same thing as the entrepreneur, all right? But you're doing it on a smaller scale. You have a strategy. You want to, I don't know, travel the world in 10 years. Well, you need money to do that. So how do you do that? Or you have a family. You need to be sending money to your family. When you have a family and you have a wife, she needs to be being on the same page with you on how to be spending the family finances. Okay? So it's the same thing. You make a budget, you keep some money, you spend some money, you invest some money. But when you go and invest the money to make returns, now that's where you need to be very, very careful. All right. And some investments need educated investors. So don't go out on the risky things if you can't lose that money. That's very important. People hear, you need to invest here because it's making 100% return. Careful, very careful. Make sure you understand the person taking the money, where is he and how is he investing it? The Lehman product was not a correct product. Now, you may say, Katerina, you're saying this with the aftermath. No. When we didn't know how wrong it was, but we had a Citibanker come to our office to present the product for investment because Citibank in Greece was selling the product. And as I said, you need to know what's behind it, all right? And he came to a company with just 9 people, all right? But we are all ex-bankers, risk trained. We do a risk assessment. Even if you tell me good morning, I'm going to do a risk assessment and say, is he really good or he's not very happy today, all right? So all right. So here he comes telling us how safe this product is. And when we were asking, what exactly has it invested in? And how has this investment been done? Nobody, and other questions, difficult questions, they couldn't answer it because they had a product packaged and they were selling it for investment. That's where you need to be very, very careful, all right? And of course, we heard him at the meeting and then we said bye-bye and we'll think about it. And then we had a company meeting and we said, this is horrendous. And people are going to be losing money. Because what did we understand? What he didn't know is what we understood. That this was based on the real estate market of the US. And the real estate market of the US is like the shipping industry. It has cycles. And we were following the real estate market and the world economy at the time and the US economy. And we realized that a product that was based and not very clearly explained how it was structured on the real estate market and the housing loan market, we said this is going to be disaster in the making. And unfortunately, we were true, but after the fact. But when we analyzed it, we said this is something we're not touching. or we're not even telling our clients to touch. So how would you invest? Carefully. And by making a budget. And by the way, when you make a budget, personally or professionally, or as a CFO, again, going back to shipping, your job is not only to make the budget on the beginning of the year. Your job is to go periodically and check the actual results against the budget, because that's one of the tools you have to project if you're going in the right direction or you're going off the cliff. So don't just make the budget, tick the box and say, okay, I did the budget, I'm good. And then go spend like there's no tomorrow, all right? Keep yourself in check and say, okay, I was supposed to, for example, in shipping, the operating expenses, I'll give you an example. We're supposed to be for the vessel, $1 million for the whole year, all right? And you go at the end of Q1 after 3 months, and you've already spent 500,000 after 3 months. Now that's a big bell ringing in your head. Why is the next question. So then you need to dig into those expenses and see what happened, because something went wrong. Now, the accounting department would have seen this at the end of the year. CFO has to follow up and do the actuals, working with the accounting, because the accounting is going to give him the actual numbers up to the point, right? But working with them to see where we're going. The same thing with your personal finances.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And so last question of the day, we will be running out of time. So last question of the day is, one of my friends asked that, as a woman in the industry, what would you suggest a person who is entering into finance or entering as an executive? What would you suggest to her, that what will be in front of her and how to face the situations? What will be your suggestion to someone like that?
Well, the first thing I say to everybody, women or men, but more to women, is be yourself. Be yourself. Do not, under any circumstance, become somebody else because you feel that is how you're going to get the job done. No, you're going to get the job done by being yourself, using your brain, using your kindness, using your smile, men or women, it doesn't matter, all right? Using your common sense and building on knowledge in order to go forward. Professional careers and success is a marathon. It's not a sprint, all right? It takes hard work, stamina. You need to keep to your target. You need to correct sometimes. You need to be flexible because it's not a straight road to your target, because you meet up with difficulties and you need to, maneuver yourself. So you need to be flexible. You need to have, but you need to keep to your target and be true to yourself. And most of all, it's called lifelong learning. I never stopped educating myself about the industry, not just finance. Okay, so I learned the basics of finance. How can I be effective? I need to know where the industry is going. I need to understand the new regulations. I need to understand, I'm the CFO, or I'm the banker, or I'm the advisor. I need to understand my client's problem. When my client comes and says, I had a collision, I really need to know what that means, and then be able to understand all the repercussions that he's facing operationally so that I can help him on the financial side. But I need to understand so that I can go and explain, believe it or not, to the bankers who only know the surface, below how deep the problem is, and try and show them how they can assist. Because once, for example, your shipping finance banker hears that you've had a collision, the first thing he says is, oh my God, the loan is not going to get paid. and I'm going to end up with a bad loan, and this is going to go into restructurings, and I'm going to get hit with my salary or be penalized because the client was not good. He doesn't see the real thing. And there are ways you can assist the client. Yeah, you need to bend a little bit the repayment schedule. But if your client is quality, all right, and there is an issue there, there's always a middle ground on how to find a solution. So what would I say to the young ladies? Is be true to yourself and do not be afraid, all right? And everything can be done when you have a program. You can be a mother, you can be a wife, you can be a girlfriend, you can be a manager, and you can be all of that. You need to be able to multitask. And I'm sorry for the young gentleman in the audience, but it's a lady's trait to be a multitasker. Sorry, we're built that way, okay? And that's DNA. But, we're talking about diversity now. You need both women and men to solve a problem. Remember when I said I was talking to those ladies and gentlemen from the master's program of Piraeus University? When I told them, please tell me what you see in that water glass, okay? I was showing them that because they described in 4 different ways, 2 women, 2 men, 4 different ways, the same glass, we have a different point of view, and we need to synthesize between the women and between the men and between us, the 2 genders, synthesize the ideas we have to resolve problems and to bring better results, not even resolve problems, to come up with better ideas to run the company. So we need to collaborate. We're not antagonizing each other, which everybody, well, in my generation, and I don't like that word, okay? It was an antagonistic relationship. And I've been saying all these years, we're not, and I was probably the only voice saying that for many years. I'm not antagonizing anybody. I'm not. I'm looking to collaborate with you because I think differently from you. Both ways of thinking are correct. It's not one is better than the other. We need to put them together, all right? So we need to be able to work together for better results. So sustainability includes diversity because I cannot fix a problem or fix any situation with the same thinking that created it. So think what I'm saying. I have a board of all men, and they have run the company off the hill because they keep repeating their same way of thinking, all right? They're trying to resolve it, but they keep doing the same thing. Why don't you put in new people, younger generation? I don't care the gender. Put 50-50, different minds, mindsets, minds. Put them there and listen, really listen, all right? And take into account the suggestions and then synthesize. The most difficult thing to do is to listen. Try that with your friends. When I say listen to me when I'm talking, do you know what I'm actually saying? Listen. Do not at that time think of anything else or what you are waiting to tell me after I finish my sentence, which may not be on what I have just said. Then we're not talking to each other because you're not listening or I'm not listening. I need you to listen to every word I say and respond to exactly what I said. And then change the topic and go to what you want to say. Then we're really listening to each other. So common sense and listening, common sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, shipping is exciting. And I am very passionate about the industry and of course about shipping finance. I believe it is the base for all enterprises, all companies, whether you work in finance, or you don't work in finance, you need to understand the basic elements for you to be a better person and a better employee. Like I'm advocating that you need to know the industry and you need to know all the departments of your company in order for you to do your job better. Because you can't do your job better if you don't understand what you do, how does that affect the other department? Do you know that how the operations, the technical, the supplies operate, for example, in the crew, how they affect finance? Well, they do. And nobody believed me until I started pushing it down their heads. And it does. You know why? Because the new rules and regulations now make the CFO need to report to the bank with many data in order to prove that the company is sterling. And the company is sterling, but I need to prove it now to be able to get a better pricing, to be able to source funds. It's not that easy anymore. So I go to my technical department and I tell him what I need. And he'll say, oh, get out of here. I'm not giving you any of that information. I've got enough work to do now. I'm not. You're crazy. Why should I give you that? Why should you give it to the bankers? We're not telling them this information. This is private. It's not. It's called transparency. And the more we have transparency, the better it is. And the more transparency, the more sustainable. So we need to educate the other departments to understand that what I'm looking for is for you to have a job. Because if you don't give me this data and I can't find a loan, the company is going to close. What don't you understand? It's that simple. So yes, I'm putting more work on your shoulders. Well, I have more work on my shoulders too as a CFO. So let's work together. Let's find a way to streamline the data I'm going to be asking every month or every quarter. Let's find a way. So no to everything you ask is not an answer. It's not. And by the way, for me, I don't like the word no. No, to me, is a red flag. Please don't tell me what I can't do, because I can do everything. Tell me how I can do it. There is nothing I cannot do. Where there's a will, there is always a way. Okay? So work together. Diversity. And be yourself. The ladies should not become males, okay? Sort of, in order to be able to show that I am here as well at the table. Earn the respect for who you are, as you are. Earn the respect for your brain, your knowledge, your profession. It's hard work. It is very hard work, but never leave your eye off the target. Maneuver around to get, it's not a straight line, maneuver, be flexible. But the same goes for you, the gentleman. Who says your life is easy? Nobody. You have competition, okay? We have competition, but you have competition as well. So you also need to be yourself. You also need to prove yourself. You've got other considerations, ladies have other considerations. But I believe if we go forward and raising the children, it's not just a woman's job. Our children need the father and the mother, because they have a different way of thinking. That's why they need both of them. They need to hear and synthesize. So it's not just diversity for the company and collaboration in the family, which means that if we think of it that way, the household, the relationship will support each other to grow and to make their targets, and also have children and also raise them and be a happy family. Because what are you raising? You're raising independent children. You're not raising children that you need to tell them sit up, stand down. That's not the type of person you need to bring out to the world. So in order to raise independent children, you need to collaborate, give them responsibilities. That frees up time for you, and it's a pyramid that goes up. It's not that difficult. It just needs a little thinking on how to make strategy, make the plan, and implement the plan. That's simple. I've done it. So I've raised two. So it's doable, trust me. Not easy, but doable.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope we have all the people listening to this workshop or this recording will learn a lot about the aspects that you have shown, which are absolutely practical and implementable, and that should be done. And second of all, the main thing, it's not taught to us in our college or in our schools from where we graduate or from we learn from.
Yes, let me say one last thing. Education is very important, all right? Very important. You know what education actually gives you? Do you know what education actually gives you?
Knowledge.
Not just that. The first thing that education gives you is you learn how to think, how to think critically. Knowledge is correct, all right? But knowledge, you can read a book. When you go to the university and you have projects and you need to go and do research and find things, they're training you to think critically and go find the answers. You need to be able to go find things, all right? Not wait for them to be given. So knowledge, all right, is a nice word because it is a very broad word. I call it way of thinking. Then you apply that, because knowledge in one discipline, okay, then you're going to say, I can't learn anything else. Well, yes, you can, because you've learned how to learn. You've learned how to think. You've learned how to go and find things. So the university and education in general, never stop learning. I keep reading, because if we stop learning, this machine up here that's called the brain, it's going to go in off mode. Okay, we need to exercise it. I keep on learning. Lifelong learner is who I am, and please be that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's been a pleasure talking to you, honestly.
Pleasure here too.